I can't really name a time within the last few days when I've made a video that is as pointless as this one, so quick disclaimer, the value that you get in this commentary probably won't be much, especially compared to any of the other commentaries I make. That is, if you get any value from these videos in the first place at all. If you don't, that's completely fine, but either way, I wanted to talk about some really eerie similarities between some NHL players that have played last year and who have played this year as well. This conversation has started up because of two Reddit posts that I saw, one on the Our Hockey subreddit and one on the Ottawa Senators subreddit, and because of the title and the thumbnail, you can kind of figure out who we're going to be discussing in this video here today. And when I say eerie similarities, I don't really mean anything, supernatural. There's no Stephen King, The Outsider, It, Pennywise thing going on here. This is just a video going over how some guys can be very eerily similar from year to year, no matter the circumstances and no matter the team's positions, etc. So, let's talk firstly about John Carlson, because for the Washington Capitals last season, Carlson went out there and had himself a pretty good year. 44 points, 52 games played, 10 goals, 34 assists. He was a -5, and he played about 23 minutes of time on ice a game. This was all fine and dandy because, as we all kind of know, the Capitals were a pretty good team. They're always up there as one of the better NHL teams, and John Carlson is one of the guys that mans the ship. Or he might not be the guy who mans the ship, but he's one of the guys that keeps the ship afloat, if you want to metaphorically talk about the Capitals in that way. Carlson has really grown over the past few seasons as a power play quarterback, just being the guy who can be relied upon on the top of the umbrella to do all the things that you want a puck-moving, offensively capable defenseman to do. It's why he finished second in Norris voting that previous year. He didn't win. Roman Josi won that season, but Carlson just being in that conversation in the first place is a pretty good sign. Despite that, though, we have ourselves a pretty consistent pattern when it comes to Carlson and the way that he plays. Last season, as we said, 52 games played, 10 goals, 34 assists, 44 points, 128 shots, 15 power play points, and 12 penalty minutes. Well, before John Carlson played a few extra games to put him up to 53 games, he had himself this year 52 games played, 10 goals, 34 assists for 44 points, 129 shots, 14 power play points, and 14 penalty minutes. So, Carlson last year had a season. Okay, that's cool. Carlson this year, in the exact same amount of games, had the exact same amount of goals, exact same amount of assists, one more shot, one fewer power play point, and 2 more penalty minutes, so 1 more penalty, pretty much. What a crazy stat line that is. In fact, if you go over to Carlson now, because as I said, he's no longer at 52 games played, he's at 53 now, NHL.com has him at 45 total points, so he has an extra assist in the one game that he had. His point per game number is the same. He's actually doing a lot better in the plus-minus department. He's got 4 more shots now on the season, but there also is one other stat that is so similar right here as well. It's time on ice per game. Last year, he averaged 23.47 per night. This season, he's averaging 23.48 per night, so he's playing 1 extra second every game he plays this year compared to last. And it's kind of funny how some players are just such a model of consistency nowadays that you get performances that are like this. You get stat lines that look like this, where they've gone out there and absolutely replicated to a T the goals, the assists, the shots, the power plays, the penalty minutes, the time on ice, all in the same amount of games from season to season. John Carlson, if you do the math right here, 45 divvy 53, multiplied out by 82, he's on pace for 69 points over the span of 82 games, which would be a little bit of a decline from what he had been doing previously at 75 points in 69 games in 2019-20, over a point per game defenseman. How crazy is that? But still, from 31 to 32 years old, it's very crazy to believe that John Carlson has been this consistent throughout the past year and a bit, pretty much. Just a year, right? Because yeah, the 2021 season was only played in 2021. There was no 2020 game played in the 2020-2021 season, and now it's March 5th, or March 6th, actually, 2022. So, kind of wild how John Carlson's career has gone the past few years. But even wilder is when you take a look at what Tim Stutzle has done for the Ottawa Senators as well. This was a post published on the Ottawa Senators subreddit that caught my eye, and it kind of just goes over the exact same thing. Like, exactly the same thing with Tim Stutzle of the Ottawa Senators instead of Carlson on the Caps. So if we go over onto Tim Stutzle's 2020-2021 season, and we see what he was able to do, hey, guess what? He's a rookie. He goes out there, 29 points, 53 games played. He's a minus 21, a .055 points per game. And as a rookie, he goes out there and makes a pretty significant impact for the Ottawa Senators. A lot of people were super excited. Okay, this guy was taken 3rd overall. He was a potential 2nd, maybe even 1st overall caliber guy at the 2020 NHL Entry Draft. It depended on who you would have asked. There were so many conversations going around about how good Tim Stutzle was and how good he was supposed to be that Ottawa Senators fans were so hyped, and justifiably so, to see him suit up in their sweater for the 2020-2021 campaign. However, this season, even though he might not have gone out there and actually progressed in terms of the overall statistics, a lot of Sens fans would go out there and say, hey, he's been playing a lot better this year than he had been last year. He's defensively responsible. He's starting to work on the two-way side of his game, which, in my opinion, was never really the bread and butter that Tim Stutzle had going for him. Like, whenever I thought about Stutzle in the DEL and I thought about what he could become at the NHL level, it was never, a shutdown defensive winger that could be the penalty kill guy that you throw out there with, 30 seconds left when you're up by 2 and you need just to keep the lead down. He was never really that kind of player in my eyes. He was always just a super dynamic, offensively capable, offensively thriving, skilled forward that could take the puck and just control it himself, do everything himself if he really wanted to. There were so many shifts like that in the other world tournaments that he was playing in for Team Germany, where he would just completely take over a shift by himself, single-handedly, not even pass the puck, and he'd just score a goal. He was that solo type of player that could do it if he wanted to, but who also was able to use his teammates when he wanted to as well, and he would usually make good decisions as to when that would be. But last season, as we noted, he had this number, 29 points, 53 games played. This season, in 53 games played, so the same amount of games, Tim Stutzle has 12 goals, 17 assists for 29 total points, exactly the same. Now, his plus-minus, unfortunately, is worse this year. He's got a minus 21 versus his minus 18 from last season, but he does have more power play points. He's got 11 compared to the 9 he scored last season, and he's got 2 more shots, so his shooting ability is kind of consistent too. I mean, 2 shots over the span of 53 games being the difference is not a lot. Another big thing, though, is the fact that his face-off percentage has improved tremendously. He is no longer at 29% from last season. This year, he's at 38%. Even though that's not 50-50, you would like to see a center go out there and win 50% of his draws. You still have Tim Stutzle, who plays as a center sometimes, going out there with 3 more minutes of ice time as well. That is a pretty good part of his game that I think speaks a little bit more volumes to the level of trust that the Ottawa Senators have placed within Tim Stutzle, and I think a lot of Sens fans would go out there and say that the way he plays is a lot more refined this season, all over the ice, not just in the offensive zone, but in the defensive zone as well, that even though his statistics are exactly the same, 29 points, 12 goals, 17 assists, and 111, 113 shots, you still have an improved player over here. Tim Stutzle is only 19 years old, so he's going to be a lot better, and he still has a lot more time to develop and grow his game into even more as quickly as next season if he really wanted to. But, just like John Carlson, seeing the consistency is a good thing, especially with the improvements that we have seen outside the stats and the numbers as well. Unfortunately, on NHL.com, you don't see defensive efficiency and expected goals against and all that stuff like you do with other websites, but when it comes to the way this guy plays, defensive off-puck awareness, the common consensus I've seen amongst Ottawa Senators fans is that those areas have indeed improved. So, even though he may be exactly the same production-wise, hey, he's still gone out there and gotten better, which is all we want to see out of these young NHL stars, is it not? So talk to me in the comments on your thoughts about John Carlson if you're a Capitals fan, and Tim Stutzle if you're a Sens fan. What are your opinions on them and how they have performed this season compared to last? Are you surprised that their statistical profiles are so comparable to the point that shots, assists, ice time, points, all that stuff are so similar from last year to this year? Now, obviously, both these guys have different stats of theirs that are similar to their previous years, but Still, let me know in the comments all your thoughts. What do you think about these two? How do you think they performed? I hope you enjoyed this video. I told you this video was pointless, by the way. So that's Carlson 99, and bye.